and we'll sit and talk about shit, everyday bullshit.
Welcome once again to Virginia Cannabis Connection. As always, I'm your guy on the couch, Joe Parsons. Joining me today is Sherman the Cat. Today I'd like to start this episode out with just a little announcement. A lot of you may have already have noticed that I've not been as active on this channel, which is the Virginia Cannabis Connection blog channel, as much as I used to be. And the main reason for that is that I also report the weekly news for Pro Cannabis Media's We Talk News. I do that every week, and that little step has really changed my entire life. The reason that I started Virginia Cannabis Connection in the first place was to try to have a voice for the Commonwealth, try to let people know about the stigmas that are actually surrounding the cannabis community. And believe me, there's a lot of stigmas surrounding the cannabis community. It's harder to find work if you're a cannabis patient. It's harder to be accepted in social groups if you're a cannabis patient. And if you're a standard recreational user, 21 and over, adult use user, your life can be difficult here, especially in the Commonwealth. And all the good jobs that I applied for when I first moved here from Maine, I was rejected because I have a cannabis card, so I was forced back into entry-level jobs just to support my family and to pay my new mortgage. So I did what anyone would do, and I just did it. The hardest part was, moving from Maine, where I worked in the cannabis industry. I worked for Theory Wellness, an absolutely outstanding company to work for, by the way. If you're in New England and can snag a job, do it. I recommend it. But when I moved here, there wasn't that industry. There wasn't any of that. So it was like starting over. And one thing that I've always done is I've always supported people that were in the cannabis industry, and I've always supported the advancement of it. So for years, I was like a closet activist. So I thought, why not actually, instead of keeping it in the closet, just go ahead and come full out, which is, I think that was the title of one of my first episodes was, coming out the cannabis closet, because that is the hardest step. Okay. So about a month in, talking about such a niche topic and not talking about yo, dude, I'm a stoner. Let's talk about stoner stuff, man. I'm going to show you how to make the biggest bong, and you're going to take bong rips. Dude, I wasn't that traditional channel. Instead, I focused more on news. I focused more on stories, and I focused more on the moving forward of the legalization and ending federal prohibition. And I fell in love with it immediately. Now, one of the channels that I had been watching for many, many years was Jimmy Young's Pro Cannabis Media. At one time, it was Pro Cannabis Media TV. Jimmy was doing what I wanted to do, and he was doing it well. And what I liked about him is that he already had a team. He had a team of people that were either in the cannabis industry or that were affluencing the cannabis industry in some way or the other. And I'm like, well, this is something that I could really, really do. And I asked Jimmy if I could join the Pro Cannabis Media team and represent Virginia. Luckily, he said yes. And for the last couple months, that's exactly what I have been doing. It's very difficult to juggle both channels because, my own channel is pretty small. There's probably only going to be about 30 to 50 of you people watching this anyway. But when I went and started to do stories and do the actual news, because I try to actually bring news instead of just reading news, I try to actually go out and get news like a regular journalist would. And I now consider myself a cannabis journalist. I don't care what anyone says, amateur or not. Freelance would be the better way to say it. But I'm very proud of what I do. And being able to do it for Pro Cannabis Media, I just have to tell you, it's changed my life. I love it. And I have devoted pretty much 100% of myself, because not only do I want to help myself grow, I want Jimmy's mission to succeed. And what is the mission of Pro Cannabis Media? It's to bring the best stories and to help end federal prohibition. And that's what I'm all about. So, if you see less of me on Virginia Cannabis Connection, it's because I've been working my butt off to try to get the best stories and to bring the best news to Pro Cannabis Media, which luckily for me is also a much larger platform. And, my 57 subs doesn't really compare to his thousands of subs. So I am glad to be a part of that. And I want to help make Pro Cannabis Media grow as much as humanly possible, not just for myself, not just for Jimmy Young, not for anyone that's on that channel. And man, they have some amazing talent, okay? I want to do it for the cannabis community. So if you haven't already done this, be sure to get off your butt, go over and log on to www.procannabismedia.com. Scroll down, click on the YouTube channel link, subscribe, like, give us as much love as possible. Comments are always welcome. We do plenty of new content every week. The Weed Talk News Show is divided into 3 parts: an A block, a B block, and a C block with government and breaking stories under the A block, and then interest stories for B and C. So be sure to like, subscribe, and do it now. I'm telling you, it's just awesome. And I am so proud to be part of the Pro Cannabis Media news team. All right, that's enough mushy stuff for the moment. Now it's time to talk about what's going on this week in the world of cannabis. As you already know, the DEA, or the Drug Enforcement Agency, has decided to go ahead and potentially reschedule cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Now, if you've been watching my channel any, then you should already know what Schedule 1 and Schedule 3 drugs are. But in case you've missed it, Schedule 1 drugs are drugs such as heroin and crack and are basically deemed to not have any medicinal value whatsoever. They're just bad. Schedule 3 drugs are usually prescription level drugs such as Tylenol with codeine and ketamine. So, the move to Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to change the world, or is it going to break everything? Well, that's the big question. Now, unfortunately, nobody has any answers to that as of yet, because A, it was just announced. Ironically, it was announced only 10 days after 420. A lot of people were thinking that if it doesn't happen on 420, it's not going to happen at all. I mean, the government, they usually do things in some style of fashion. And this was completely random. No one knew that this was going to actually be a thing. In fact, if this does indeed pass, then cannabis users, both medically and recreationally, are going to have to now acknowledge April 30th as well as April 20th as great days for cannabis. So, a lot of the opinions that we have been getting is, if you're in the business from a dispensary point of view, especially if you own a medical dispensary, then the move from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 is going to be an amazing benefit, because it's going to alleviate the 280E tax credit. The 280E tax credit has cost business owners millions and millions. And it's actually one of the biggest reasons that a lot of smaller businesses have failed. They just can't afford to operate. And they continuously report net losses when they're actually making money. It's just all going into taxes because they're trying to do it legally. They're trying to do it the right way. Now, on the other side, there's a bunch of people, including myself, that feel that the move from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 could potentially cause more harm than it could cause good. And I'll explain a little bit about that. First of all, the most important reason, at least for me, is that it does nothing for social equity. I mean, it does nothing. It does not provide justice. It does not overturn convictions. It does not right any wrongs. Cannabis will still be as illegal as what it always has been. Especially what I find compelling is that if you live in a state where it's completely has been legalized for both medical and rec use, and then you're traveling or going on vacation to a place that doesn't have any recreational or medical, are you going to be safe there? Well, the answer is clearly no, because it's still an illegal Schedule 3 substance. So unless you have a valid prescription for every product, that you have, you could still potentially do jail time for it. So it really doesn't do anything to help the movement advance, I guess you would say. So another reason is it could potentially uproot the entire recreational market as we know it, because after all, Schedule 3 drugs are prescription drugs. So there's no prescription drugs sold at CVS unless you go to the pharmacy, right? So what's that going to do for all the people that are already housing and holding recreational licenses? What's that going to do for the people that are growing for their own home use? What's that going to do to all of the businesses that have been established and that are already growing recreational cannabis? These are questions that nobody really knows yet. And that's why that you have to definitely stay glued to Pro Cannabis Media and to my blog channel, Virginia Cannabis Connection. And I'm going to try to keep everybody in the know. If something changes, I am going to be there. When the bill gets signed, I'm going to be there. When it actually gets scheduled from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, you can count on this guy to be there. This has been an amazing journey for me. I started this channel out as just a way to spread information. And now I'm going to actually be a part of history. And this is one of the greatest moments, So be sure to stick in there with me, like, share, and subscribe, as always. You might not see me as much on Virginia Cannabis Connection, but know that when I do release content, it will be newsworthy and it will be of, at least in the cannabis community, of great importance. So that's my time for today. Just wanted to thank everybody that had me for the 2024 NECAN convention in Baltimore, Maryland. Thank you for having me out there. Thank you for allowing Pro Cannabis Media to do what we do, and that's cover the New England Cannabis Convention. Thanks a lot there. All right. Until next time, everybody, as always, stay lifted.